distracted because Dante is sleeping here and Giovanni. I think Giovanni may have been fostered with corgis because he sploots. He lays on his belly with his back legs kicked out behind him. It is absolutely adorable. Dante doesn't do it. Giovanni does it. I'm just like, okay. And they're brothers. So, although Giovanni was caught before Dante was, because they were both, feral. I think their mom's feral. But they were going to TNR them, and somebody went, yeah, no, these guys are adoptable. And thank God, because they have been the best thing ever. So, and I also ache a little bit today because we do this quarterly buy. I got 43 boxes of product yesterday. And within each box, because these are big boxes, there were between 6 and 12 smaller boxes. So, yay. Okay. All right. We are doing a new design for living. So let's do the housekeeping really quickly. I'm sorry. There is a crinkle ball in the cat food bowl, and Giovanni is eating. So every time he takes a bite, the crinkle ball is crinkling. Okay. So housekeeping. Simply me reminding you that we are Creative Life Spiritual Center. Website is creativelife.org. Constant contact, email, info@creativelife.org. Get you one email a week, tells you what's going on for the week and the month. The hot links are hot. Take you right to the information you want. And blind CC, meaning nobody's going to see your email. And when I say one email a week, I mean it. 1, real person doing it. 2, the only reason you would get more than one if something unusual happens, which is almost always weather related because we do live on the Gulf Coast. Okay. Social media, merely because we do not monetize it. We don't want to deal with the ads any more than you do. So what we ask you to do instead is go engage with the pages. Like, subscribe, follow based on which platform you are on. And then engage with the individual posts by reacting to the post, commenting on the post, sharing the post. We think we have good tools to share. We hope you agree. Free and easy way you can support us. Okay. And we are Creative Life Spiritual Center or Creative Life Spark. And I am the running Rev Ryan across all the social medias that I am on. Okay. Housekeeping over. New design for living. So, Jesse's been on been using the word process a lot. When you pray for things, the universe doesn't hand them to you. The universe hands you a process. Well, this is what I think the new design for living is, just based on what I've read already, because we're only in chapter 3. This is the process of science of mind. This is how you use science of mind to get the life that you want. You know, it's not about stuff. Stuff is included, but it's not about stuff. It's about, living the life that you want to live, having the experiences you want to have, and more importantly, feeling the things you want to feel. So, we are in chapter 3. When I was reading about it, this was written towards the end of Ernest's career. So I think this was Ernest's way of like, okay, you know what? Here's the process of what I've been trying to teach you this whole time. So we are in chapter 3. I love the titles of the chapters because they're great. Don't limit yourself. Chapter 3. And the article that we are going to do today is avoiding the undesirable, which, almost all of us want to do. If not all the time, at least most of the time. So, sometimes we just got to put on our big girl pants and go deal with it. But, most of the time. All right. So, avoiding the undesirable. The whole endeavor of humanity is to find freedom from bondage. Freedom from those limitations with which they have surrounded themselves. If they are sick, they wish to be well. If they are impoverished, they wish to live a more abundant life. If they are unhappy, they want to live a life of joy and happiness. If they are afraid, they are trying to either escape through unconscious suicide. Okay, that was not a phrase I was expecting there. or to find liberation from their fear through faith, a faith in something greater than they are. Okay. Oh, hang on. Okay. All right. Let's see. I would like to keep my voice today. We may safely say that the universe must be adequate, or to put it another way, God does not make mistakes. Now, I remember growing up, no, that was God doesn't make any God doesn't make no junk. Yeah, growing up, I remember the small child with the hands folded and the head down, and it always said God doesn't make junk. God doesn't. Yeah, never mind. So, Ernest is saying the same thing. God doesn't make junk. God doesn't make mistakes. All right. Einstein is credited with saying God is subtle, but not malicious, and that God does not play dice with the cosmos. It would follow then that God is neither unwhole, impoverished, limited, or unhappy, and that our troubles must lie within ourselves. If bondage does not belong to God, it must be the creation of humanity. We have a greater degree of choice and freedom than we have ever realized. Okay. And that, I believe, okay. In some way or other, by some inward compulsion and conviction, we feel that we were born to be free and happy, and we ever desire to seek this larger life. Of course, we know that any freedom, to be true freedom, must be in accord with law. And he's using the capital L there, so, not man-made laws, not humanity's laws, but Dante, what are you doing? Okay, so there's this little plastic cup on the floor, and he's playing with it and sticking his head in it, which is really quite funny. Okay. And now he's probably going to start chewing on it, so I may have to go take it away from him. All right, sorry, distraction. Let's see. Yes. So capital L. So he's talking about principle, not laws made by people. So therefore, we must seek to find out just what our individual relationship to this thing we call life, or God, or the unseen cause, or whatever term we have come to use to express the great unknown, but not the great unknowable. Okay? And that's an important part of the sentence there. Not the great unknowable. In searching out the nature of the great invisible cause back of all things, that principle which governs everything and which is also the presence that flows in and through us, we are really discovering our relationship to God. I talk about this because you know how science of mind is definitely about personal responsibility, but science of mind also acknowledges that we are in relationship with other people and we are in relationships with systems. So while yes, we do have a large degree of personal responsibility in the choices that we make, we understand that some of our problems are actually caused by our relationships with other people and our relationships with the system. So here, I think it's interesting that we're now talking about our relationship to the divine. Okay. Okay. I have a thought, but let's see where he's going with this before I think that thought. All right. Okay. So what we are really discovering our relationship to God, and at the same time, our relationship to each other, because we are all spiritual beings on the pathway of an eternal existence. Would it be too much to say that whenever we discover something about the nature of God, we shall also be discovering something about our own nature? Or that in such a degree as we discover what we really are, we must be discovering what God is in us. Okay? At which point I'm going to remind you that, God encompasses all of us. We do not encompass all of God. Okay? If it so happens, as we are all sure it must, that we belong to the universe in which we live and are some part of it, then it follows of necessity their whole happy until they discover their real self. And if that so happens, as indeed it must, that one cannot discover their real self without finding their relationship to that which is greater than they are. All right? Then surely the pathway to freedom and wholeness lies in the conscious union with the invisible laws of life and the great intelligence behind them. Okay. No person has a right to say that they are not free. Not free to think the way they choose. It is true that over a great period of time, they may have built barriers of limitation and restraint about the way they think, but these to build or not build. They are also free to remove them or augment them. We can easily see how others are limiting themselves in many respects by the way they have imprisoned their thinking. Oh, that's a phrase. Limiting themselves by imprisoning their thinking. It is not so easy, however, to see the same thing in ourselves. When there's the plank in our own eye versus the dust mote in our neighbor's. Yeah, gotcha. If we would only have the courage really to look at our own way of thinking, we would find that we are hampered and If we would only have the courage to really... No. Okay. This is me getting words out of order. Let me try this again. If we would only have the courage really to look at our own way of thinking, we would find that we have hampered and restricted ourselves no less than those about us. But once we discover this, we are in a position to do something about it. We are ready to step out of our self-imprisonment. We are no longer captive to our negative thoughts, but are free to hold our thoughts captive to our highest desire for good in our experience. Okay. To hold our highest thought captive. And I might have chosen a different word than captive, but okay. All right. So, I'm going to go back and think about that. So he never really does talk about avoiding the undesirable. He just doesn't. So that's really interesting. He titled that. I might have given it a different title, but that's just me. I don't know. So I was thinking about when he said discovering our relationship to the divine. And then he didn't go where I expected him to go. And now, okay. The point of regular daily spiritual practice is exactly that. It is to discover our relationship to the divine. Just to discover more of who we are. Because when we go to the divine and say, show me more of who you are, then what the divine is going to do is show us more of who we are, along with who the divine is. Because as I said, the divine encompasses all of us, but we don't encompass all of the divine. And so we get to play this amazing game with the divine of, it's not hide and seek. I guess it's an elaborate version of 20 questions. Where we're constantly questioning the divine. And the divine is constantly redirecting the question back at us, if that makes sense. It's like, who are you? And then the divine turns around and goes, well, who I guess there's that Jesus quote where one of his apostles says, who are you? And Jesus says, well, who do you think I am? And then several of the apostles answer the question. And Jesus never actually answers the question, remember? He just kind of pats a couple of the apostles on the back a couple of them he pats on the head and go, well, you need to do some more work. And then he pats a couple of them on the back going, well, you're on the right track. So, but I guess that's, and it is, it's kind of an elaborate game of 20 questions, but there's so many more questions, and each question that gets answered leads to another question, but not in that frustrating, I'm not getting anywhere. It's in that scientific discovery of, oh, this is really cool. What else can I learn? But like I said, Science of Mind is that it's about personal responsibility. And the more we learn about ourselves and the more we learn about each other and the more we learn about our relationship to the divine, we move through the world differently. We make different choices. And there's something to be said for being at peace with what you know, and yet striving. No, I'll say it this way: being excited to learn more. Being excited to learn more. What is the next great breakthrough? What is the next great discovery that I'm going to make about myself, about others, about the divine, about, hey, you know what? Every day is a new day. And I get to learn something new about the divine. And what am I going to learn today? All right. And if I'm going to avoid the undesirable, that's the way I'm going to look at it. It's like, okay, what do I get to learn today? What new discovery do I get to make about myself, about others, about the divine, about the world around me, about the way principle works? Because it means that whatever barriers that have been installed either by me or by, well-meaning people around me as I grew up, I get to look at those barriers and decide, do I want to keep them? Do I want to break them down? Do I want to use them to build something else? They say for every rock thrown at you, build the ladder to get out. That's what you can do with any of the barriers that have been installed. Break them down and use them to build something in your life that you actually want. All right. I need to stop rambling and get off into work because I still have 19 boxes to go on that big order. And I've got at least 2 more deliveries coming today. So, I'm going to encourage you now to have a great day, a wondrous day, a fantastic day, a magical day, an enchanted day, a wonderful day, an awesome day, an amazing day. I don't know why I always say amazing that way, but I do. And I like it. Let's wrap this week up day, a you got this day, and make sure you take breaks day, a drink plenty of water day, a be prepared because our weather's about to drop like it saw a state trooper because 80 today. It's going to be 80 today and 58 tomorrow. Those are the highs. So, be prepared for the weather day, a cuddle your fur babies day, a do what you got to do day. Make sure you do something fun for yourself day, a listen to some good music, read a good book, tell somebody you love them day, a good day. And if that is too much pressure, because occasionally it is, simply have a day. You are enough just as you are. You are a beloved expression of the divine. You are a brilliant light, a divine spark, spirit in motion, God in action, a beautiful masterpiece, and a work in progress at the same time, at your own pace. Good morning, sugar baby. My little girl just wandered in. And now she's scratching on the door frame. She's 15 though. What am I going to do? Let's see. Oh, beautiful masterpiece, work in progress, same at your own pace. And as Reverend Jesse likes to call us, you are a godling. So explore the truth of your being. Get to know who the divine knows you to be. Because, I mean, what else are we doing here other than that? Really, in the long run. Because the divine knows you to be good. And from there, anything is possible. Anything at all is possible. All right? Okay. Reverend David should be on around 5 p.m. with you.